Hi Heather, I'm going to go through your assignment. You were given the answers to number 1, so let's move on here to number 3. It looks like you have the first code correct. You did well on the adverse effect, the C code, and your procedure code. Make sure you read through any of these explanations. They're kind of nice. I'm just looking right now to make sure students are sequencing correctly, not missing important things. So right here, this goes back to our AIDS being principal diagnosis. So with number 5, B50 does need to be the principal diagnosis here. And let's just pull this over. It says even though the histoplasmosis is stated as the current problem, it is related to the patient's AIDS, which appropriately is designated as your principal diagnosis. So that's the same thing if a patient has, let's say, even pneumonia and it's related to the AIDS, that then you would code the B20 first, then the pneumonia second. So that's why we're doing that here. Okay, but otherwise, besides that, it looks like you did a nice job. Let's move on to number 7. Great job with the T codes. We have the J code for the respiratory failure and procedure codes. One thing I just want to make note of, I had a few students remembering on poisoning codes that when it's poisoning, you need to code that as principal and then whatever's wrong with the patient secondary. Adverse effect, it's just the opposite. It's whatever's wrong with the patient, which you have, the nausea with vomiting, and then the T code for adverse effect. Okay, let's go ahead and move to number 11. Nice job. T code second. I did have a few students with the IV codes. You don't need those, so keep that in mind. Let's go to 13. You're doing a nice job here with the poisoning codes. The F code is secondary. That's fine with the Y code. You don't need the H code for the procedure. 15, you have the fracture code first. Once again, nice job on that. It looks like we have retention of urine. You do not have that, but otherwise you're doing a really nice job. Okay, let's go with chapter 21. I think I gave you a couple answers to these. It looks like here you have a few more codes than needed. I guess you have to look to make sure, because right here it states that these conditions were not present during this current admission, so that's why we're not coding those. Number 2, looks like you did a great job once again. Number 3, we have quite a few procedures, so make sure you review them. It looks like you're missing a few of those. The Z, long-term use of anticoagulants, that's going to be a real common procedure that we utilize. Otherwise, you're off on a few. And I had a few students with the M code, so double check those. We do not need those. Number 4, missing a personal history of malignant neoplasm of the tongue. We also have a Y code. Procedure code looks good. These answers will be in, I will attach them to this also. Number 5, we have acute pulmonary insufficiency, which you have secondary. It looks like you are using a signs or symptom code as principal diagnosis, which we do not do. If there's a definite diagnosis, you're never going to use a sign or symptom code as a principal diagnosis. The other thing to remember also is that your R codes, they should throw up a flag. Like if you put an R code first, that's a sign or symptom code. If you don't have anything else, yes, then you're probably going to use it. The other thing, if that sign or symptoms, integral to diagnosis, then you don't want to use it. Okay, overall, not a bad job. Looks like number 6, you're again off a little bit on the D code. It should be a malignant neoplasm. If you have any questions on this section, make sure you reach out and let me know.